Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Energetics Podcast. I am your host, Kara Bunde-Dunn, and today I'm going to be diving deep into this idea of bridging the gap between faith and intuition and how religion, spirituality, and even being a medium can all coexist. So, I wanted to start with anchoring you in with my background. So, for those of you that don't know, I grew up in a rural town in southern Minnesota, a tiny little town called Janesville, Minnesota. For those of you that might be Midwesterners, it was a town of about 2,000 people, and we had a big Catholic church, and we had a big Missouri Synod Lutheran church, and we had a Methodist church too, and probably some others I wasn't aware of. But the main two churches were Lutheran and Catholic. And there happened to be a parochial school, which is just a private Lutheran school in that tiny little town. And that's where I went to school. So I was raised Missouri Synod Lutheran, and I went to a Lutheran school. And growing up, I was very, very curious about God and religion and how it all worked. And I always had lots and lots of questions. And I was definitely raised to believe that there was a right and a wrong way to see the world, and that the way that I was raised in the church that I was raised in had some pretty strong judgments about what was right and what was wrong. And that was quite an interesting thing for me when I awakened into my mediumship abilities. I had lots of questions around religion and spirituality and mediumship and how does it all work. And I've had, I would say, thousands of conversations with my guides and my guardian angels and God around this topic, and getting some divine wisdom in particular around this topic. So I feel like it's time. Christmas is right around the corner. I grew up Christian, so this is going to have a bit of a slant around Christianity in particular, but it's true for any major world religion. This isn't exclusive to just Christianity. And I wanted to share that I was very worried and very scared when my mediumship abilities awakened within me. I thought, what is the church community going to think of me? And in fact, on my social media, not that long ago, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, I had posted something about angels or something along those lines. And somebody, a total stranger on the internet, was like, "You are demonic. You are demonic. Stop." And I was like, "Whoa, lady, you got some strong feelings." And I truly believe I drilled into her profile, of course, like, who is this person? And, there was a lot of like Christian cross things. There was a Bible verse on her feed, like things like that. And so I thought, okay, well, this is your perspective. And I know that perspective because I was raised that way. So I understand that the way that I am showing up and the way that I am connecting with my guides and loved ones in spirit, um, it feels very wrong to you and for what you believe. And that's okay. I'm going to let you have it. I'm not here to convince anyone to see the world the way that I do. But if you're somebody that's been contemplating, how does it all work? What about this link of spirituality and this link of religion? And I was raised religious and I like some of the traditions, but some of the things I don't drive with. What do I do with all of that? How do I make sense of all of that? This is what this episode is all about. That I truly believe there can be alignment if we allow it to be, and if it feels safe for you to do so. So I just couldn't think of a better time for us to say, "Yep, it's Christmas, it's the New Year, it's dear baby Jesus's birth. Let's get into it and let's talk about it." So, can they coexist? That's probably the big question. Can you be a medium and be religious? And I would say it depends. It depends on you and if that works for you. Um, if I have learned anything in my 4 years of using these abilities to connect with the other side, what I have learned is each person's journey is uniquely their own. And there is no right or wrong way that we go about that journey. And you will find your way and your purpose in this life in whatever way it's supposed to show up for you. And I can hold space for somebody who judges me or doesn't understand me or thinks I'm demonic. I can hold space for you even if you can't hold space for me. And I mean that. I truly mean that. I do not need your approval. I have got my own connection with the other side. And I feel very strong and very honored to have that kind of connection that I have. So when we start opening up to this idea of spirituality, I would say that if your heart is pulling you in this way, and I'm really curious and I'm meditating and I'm doing some things beyond just praying, not that just, but beyond praying, I should say it that way. I would say if your heart is nudged that way and you're listening to this podcast, it probably definitely is nudged that way, that it's probably written in the stars for you to open up spiritually and see what kind of personalized connection you can have with God, the universe, the other side, your guides, your loved ones in spirit. If you're listening to this podcast, your heart, it probably is calling you, your soul is calling you to open up. And it's probably part of your plan. It's probably part of your soul's plan. So I would say it's written in the stars. So do it. Trust it. Trust what's coming your way. So, we can live in a world where some people believe that there is mediums can connect with the other side and channel messages. And we can live in a world where a bunch of people think that that's the devil's work, if you will. And I'm probably never going to convince someone that thinks I am working with the energy of the devil that I'm working with the energy of angels. Like, I'm probably never going to get them to believe that. So I don't even try, honestly. I really don't. And I think that that's part of the journey, is to say my role, my job in this body and in this life is to develop my own connection and find my own way, my own authentic, unique way of connecting and understanding the unseen. And you'll do that in whatever way it's meant for you to do. And it's okay if people don't think the same. It really doesn't bother me. It used to a lot, and it just doesn't anymore. I don't need my family, my in-laws. I don't need anybody to agree with me for me to understand the world the way that I do. And that's a really powerful place to be, to say, you know what, I'm good, all on my own. I've got a one-to-one relationship and we're good. And for me, it started really early. Oh, my Lord, I'm just going to apologize to the teachers I had, the pastors, the religious teachers. I was the most inquisitive little kid on the planet, and I wanted to know everything. And in fact, when even in my middle school years, high school years, you would often find me sitting around with the adults talking and then going to the party and hanging out with my friends. But I was somebody that wanted to go deep, wanted to understand things. And I remember at a really young age being pretty curious about this idea of free will. So, talk about I had Rob on the podcast, and we talked about pre-birth plans and your soul's plan and your soul's journey and all of that. And I was like, whoa, little did I know that like the 5 or 6-year-old version of Kara like was into all of that. So I should have known that abilities were coming my way. And I distinctly remember asking my teacher and our pastor of our church, if you have free will and we get to do whatever we want because we're humans and we have free will, then how is it that there's a plan and that God has a plan for me? Because that doesn't make any sense. If God has a plan for me and yet I have free will, then how does that work? Because then if God knows everything and God is all knowing, then then why would I have free will? Wouldn't I just do whatever God told me to do or whatever the plan was for me to do? And I didn't know. And guess what? They didn't either. They didn't have good answers for me. And I had lots of questions. And I even remember like in the middle school age where a teacher had told my dad and mom, they had parent teacher conferences. And I think I was in like 6th grade. And they said, your daughter asks a lot of questions. And can you just have her not do that? It's very disruptive to the class, the amount of questions that this Kara asks. And bless my dad's heart, he said, why do you not know the answers to her questions? Like, is that such a bad thing that we have somebody that wants to know things and wants to ask a lot of questions? Is that a really bad thing? So bless my dad for sticking up for me. I appreciate that. And then I will say I was talking to a friend about this. I've been having a lot of conversations with my intuitive friends, with my friends that open up in this way that kind of can drive and understand what it's like to be a medium or an intuitive. And a good friend of mine is in this inner NBA program put on by Sounds True. It's like a master's in inner leadership and inner work. So we are in this program together, and we were talking about all sorts of intuitive signs. And she's Jewish, and she had said, Kara, I've had this conversation with my rabbi around mediumship, and does he think it's wrong to be a medium? And her rabbi said, I would prefer you just go directly to God and not use a medium. And she took that in, processed it, understood that was his perspective. And then she said, well, when your people are asking you questions, I observe you and I watch you, Rabbi, and I see you close your eyes and I see you get wisdom from God as to how to answer the question. Don't you think maybe that's just what a medium does too? And she said that he paused and really thought about that and said, I hadn't really thought about it that way. But she's like, me, do you think you're getting channeled messages from God? And he said, I guess I am. Yeah, I guess I am. And so I think sometimes it's just having bravery to have these kind of conversations around taboo topics that maybe we're not supposed to, they're not wanting us to talk about. But the more that we do, the more that we can understand each other and the more that we can create space for everybody to find their way in this world. And when I think about what does religion offer versus what spirituality offers and what is the role of them, I will again say that is unique to each person. I truly believe it. I think it is somebody's own unique journey on what that is supposed to be. But for me, what I think religion can do is make sense of the unseen in a structured way. It can make sense of the unseen in an organized way, in a place where community can be created. And I think where spirituality comes in is it's upon us to make sense of the unseen in a personal way. How does it personally resonate with you? And I also want to say, I want to hold space for anyone that does not feel safe or comfortable or seen or understood within the religious realm. And I want you to know that's okay. That is okay. There are lots of ways up the mountaintop, and I cannot tell you how many times I get that message that it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. You go on the path that makes the most sense to you. So you go where you feel safe, where you feel comfortable, and where you feel understood. But for me, I grew up really religious. So Christmas in particular, I love the Christmas carols, the Christmas message. I love, Archangel Gabriel, the Star of Bethlehem. I mean, there's just so many things that resonate with me. Angels, communicating with angels. I feel the presence of angels right now. So there's so much of that that feels so special to me. The Christmas story in particular, and the birth of Jesus. And I have had such beautiful moments where I have connected with Jesus and felt his presence that I don't have a doubt in my mind that Jesus is real. Like, I just feel so lucky that I have had those kinds of connections and messages that it's so affirming that I don't have doubt about it at all. But I'm also okay with each person's journey. And if you have tons of doubts, you know what? That's okay. You were probably just meant to have tons of doubts in this lifetime. But honor what feels aligned for you. Honor for what feels like a gut check alignment is maybe a way that I can say that. If something feels out of alignment, that's for a reason. And if something is nudging you, that's for a reason too. And I will say, I don't care what you call that higher power. It could be your higher self. It could be universal love. It could be full consciousness, source energy, universe energy, God energy. Call it whatever you want. Same for intuition. Some people call it just, I have really good business sense. Some people say, I feel the Holy Spirit working within me. And you know what I think? That what we don't understand is so much broader and bigger than what we do, that all things are possible. I believe that all of those are possible to exist at the same time. So, I would say explore what works for you. And if religion, framing religion and this idea of connecting to the divine and angels and God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit and the Holy Trinity and all of that, if that hits your heart, it's because it was supposed to. That is where you're supposed to fit in. It is where you are supposed to feel aligned. I will just caution you, though, that not everyone will go to church or be in a religious practice and feel the same way you do. And I am here to tell you, I think that's okay. I think that's okay. I think we come down really hard on people like, oh, I wish you would just go to church. Why don't you want to go to church? Church is so great. I worry about you. Why don't you go to church? We have all those mothers and grandmothers and fathers and grandfathers that say those things to us. And what it means to you, it may not mean the same to someone else. And I'm just encouraging you to try to hold space for someone that thinks or acts or believes differently than you. And when I think about spirituality and what that frames up for me and how I dig into it, understand it, I think of spirituality as like energy, intuition, universal consciousness, tapping into the frequency of love, of understanding, of finding joy, even in the hard. And spirituality gives me that. It gives me that in a way that religion doesn't. But religion gives me tradition and community in a way that I haven't found in my spirituality community. I have it one-on-one with people, but not a collective community. So I believe that they can coexist, but they will maybe just serve different purposes, especially for me. But what they serve for you, that is for you to figure out and to see where you feel aligned. And one of the lessons that I think is really powerful that merges spirituality and religious practices in particular is this idea that when we pray, I think of prayer as the ask. It's the call out to God, to your higher self, to angels, to source, whatever that high vibe frequency energy you believe in, you tap into. When we pray, we're praying out for wisdom, for answers, for clarity, for information, for guidance. I don't think it's good to be like, please let me win the lottery. But you may say, please help me understand why I'm having these money challenges. God, help me understand, what am I meant to be learning right now? And when those types of things, I believe, are like a prayer or a call out for understanding or wisdom or help. And I think one of the most powerful prayers that you can say is a prayer that asks for clarity or asks for guidance versus like, I'm looking for a yes or no answer. I think you're really limiting what can show up for you when you pray in that way. So instead, pray for an answer that's for the highest and best good of all involved, right? Like maybe there's somebody that's really sick or not doing well. A dear friend of mine has a nonprofit called Woven Charm, and they help families with the NICU experience. And like, how do you make sense of that? That you have a baby that spends 40, 50 days in the NICU, like a prayer that might serve you if you are worried about somebody that is experiencing that, or you're experiencing it yourself, would be, God, higher power, higher source, like, help me understand what I'm meant to learn right now. Help me seek understanding beyond what my human brain can comprehend, and surround us in love, protect us, be there to support us and love us, and help me in this moment of weakness, challenge, this time that I'm in. Help me see what I can't see right now, or help me get the strength I need to work through this really, really hard thing I'm going through. So that's what I think of when I think of a religious practice, the power of prayer. and the collective power of prayer. When we pray at the same time, we are energetically raising the vibration of the planet. And I believe that. I absolutely believe that. And I believe in the power of prayer. And where I think spirituality comes into play in the same, connection that we're doing is meditation. So prayer is the call out and the ask for clarity, and meditation is the silence to receive. And for me, you can do moving meditation, you can sit in stillness, you can put on music, you can do a guided meditation, you can do journaling, all sorts of ways that wisdom can come into you. I love to go for a walk in the woods without headphones, without podcasts, without anything, and allow the sounds of nature to come. And I get clarity all the time on the things that I couldn't get clarity on when I was just sitting in my living room, for example. So when you think about how a religious practice and a spiritual practice could work together, I think there's no better combo than prayer and meditation. Pray for the ask is the ask out, and meditation is the receiving of the wisdom in. And they can work together. So who knew? There you go. Look at a cool practice that will allow those things to coexist. I also think for me, I find connection to my guides, my guardian angels, and my loved ones in spirit through music. Music's really powerful. I actually have my meditation music up right now on my computer, and I have a playlist on Spotify. And most of it is high frequency meditation music, high hertz music. If you think of a sound bowl, like 432 hertz is the hertz that I tend to tune into, that or a higher vibration. Like an 888 is like, miracles. Give me the miracles when I'm listening to that level of hertz vibrational pattern within the music. So music is super powerful, and my meditation music is really powerful for me to connect with my guides, to signal to the angels, I'm ready to connect, I'm ready to listen, I am here, and I can actually physically feel their energy and presence on my body. Like, oh, we got the cue, you're playing the music, we know you want to connect, we know that you're here. But that's also true for me in church. My mother-in-law is just a beautiful singer, just so beautiful. And when she sings, it just vibrates through the whole church in a way where you get chills. Like I really get full body chills. Sometimes I cry. I'm like so moved by the music. And where I go to church, Michael, the music director, is phenomenal. This guy is just insane. He's so gifted. And I feel so moved by music in particular. Sometimes I resonate with the message, and sometimes it, I would say, bristles my feathers. I don't know the right way to say that, but it like can get under my skin a little sometimes too. But the music always brings me back to a higher connection and a higher consciousness. So you'll find what parts feel most connecting to you, or how you feel most connected to your guides, your loved ones, God, whatever that is. I also did want to share a few thoughts that have come through in the thousands of readings that I've done for people. There are some common themes that come through when people have not fit in religiously, or they weren't religious at all, and they want to share a message through. Or let's say someone had a family member that was part of the LGBTQ plus community, or somebody had a family member that died via suicide or drug overdose or alcohol or some way around that. And they're like, I have people come to me every week, literally every week, and they're worried for the person, the soul. Are they okay? Did they go into the light? Are they in heaven? What do I do? And I thought I would just share a few pieces of wisdom that have come in all of the collective readings that I've done and the themes that come through. So if you are somebody that's quite religious and you're grappling with this idea of where does the church stand on the LGBTQ plus community and what does God really think about all of that, I can tell you unequivocally, the message I get over and over and over again is love is love is love is love. That judgment comes from the human side of understanding, not the God side of understanding. So I would just literally let that one go, y'all. Let that one go. God does not care. Like, spirit is so clear on this, so crystal clear. Like, Love is love is love is love. Let people love whoever they want to love. Let them be whoever they want to be. That is part of their story and that is part of their journey. So a little less judgment and a little bit more love would go a heck of a long way. And if you take anything from this podcast episode, I hope that it is that. I hope that you understand that God, angels, they are all sending and singing from the same playbook in that way, that love is love is love. And I will say, we contract to go through challenges in our life. We pick them. We have a pre-birth plan and we pick what our lessons are going to be. And you may very well have chosen self-love, overcoming sabotage, self-sabotage, judgment, overcoming judgment and ridicule. And that is probably part of a greater plan. So just trust that. Trust that there's a plan in play and that you're meant to overcome the things that are challenging you. So if you're going through a struggle or a challenge, it's there for a reason. And the more that you can lean into it and the more that you can get curious about it, the more that wisdom of what it's meant to teach you can come forward and you can like move through that challenge with a little more ease or move through it if you're really stuck in it. But God doesn't judge. If you think about what God is the most highest vibration of unconditional love possible. That is the energy and frequency of God. And that is true whether you're a man or a woman, or you're a part of the LGBTQ plus community, or you're ridiculed in any way or marginalized in any way. In God's eyes, there is no judgment. There is only unconditional, unconditional amounts of love, like so much love that you couldn't even imagine. So if you are a part of a religious organization that is exclusionary or judgmental, that would be a really good place for you to grapple with and say, does that feel aligned for me? And I distinctly remember this when I was in college. I studied abroad in India. And talk about a culture shock for a girl that grew up in a very white farm community town of 2,000 people. I mean, hello. Then going to India, I was like sensory overload beyond. And I remember we went to a Hindu temple and it was very early on in my journey. And I brought my Bible, like a giant heavy Bible in my backpack. And I was really trying to understand, but my soul chose India. I didn't choose Australia. I didn't choose England. I didn't choose Spain. I didn't choose a Christian-based, faith-based community. I chose India, like the epicenter of all religions. My goodness. And I remember going through this Hindu temple and coming out of it and seeing like, oh my God, these people are praying and they're honoring their journey and they're so full of connection to what they believe in. And my first thought was like, why would all these people go to hell? Like, wowzers, that seems really wrong. Like, they can't help where they're born just because you're born in India. Like, oh my God, that doesn't make any sense. And then I had this feeling like that can't be true. Like, God, that can't be true, can it? Like, why would you do that? These people are so full of love and faith and devotion. And that feels so wrong to me. And I have to say, I'm so grateful that I have clarity on that. I am so grateful that I've gotten so many channeled messages that there's lots of ways up the mountaintop and that it's all okay. You get to pick it, your soul picks it, and you get to pick it, and you get to decide where you fit best. But if you're in a place, in a religious community that's very judgmental and very exclusionary, I would encourage you to sit with that and see, does that resonate with you? Does that fit with your soul? Does that feel right for you? Or does some part of that feel disconnected? Like maybe that part of it doesn't feel aligned for you. So I will say, find your way to bridge the gap. Find your way to find the pieces that connect for you and root it in love. Honestly, if what you're saying, thinking, feeling, or doing isn't rooted in love and kindness and compassion, it's probably coming from your ego, and it's probably not coming from some type of deeper spiritual perspective. So for what it's worth, I encourage you to like dig in deep and be in the energy. of love and the frequency of love. And if you think about, can you think of a better teacher to teach us what love means than Jesus? Like, we're coming up on Jesus' birth. Even if you are Jewish, you still believe Jesus was born from Mary, who was a Jew, and Mary and Joseph who were Jewish. Like, the birth story is really powerful of Jesus. And there is no better example of unconditional love than Jesus, like, for real. I mean, I will say one of the tools that I use when I'm having a hard time with somebody, like, oh, they're just getting under my skin, they're judging me, and I'm having a hard time letting it go, whatever it is. When I'm feeling that way, I will pray and I will say, Jesus, help me see them from your eyes, because the way that I'm seeing them, I know is not coming from a place of love. It's not coming from a place of seeking understanding. Can you show me them through your eyes? Can you show me them through the lens of love? And I feel that overwhelming presence of his energy and the ability to shift my perspective with somebody in that way. So, anyhow, I don't want to keep this episode too long, but I do want to encourage you just to integrate what feels right for you on your own journey as it relates to religion and spirituality. And if religion is a shoe that fits, wear it. And if it isn't, that's okay. Find a pair of shoes that do fit. I will say that. Um, and I did want to just mention, if religion is triggering for you, and this type of time can be a little triggering for you because it doesn't feel like a place that feels safe or feels like a place you align with, I do have a really cool workshop that's self-paced. There is a piece within meditation that's part of it, and it's really beautiful. And it's on my website. It's karmicleader.com/holiday. And it is a great little tool, a little mini course with a workbook and a meditation and some exercises that really can help you shift your energy and to open yourself up, especially this time of year. So I wanted to mention, this is my last episode for season 2. This is my wrap episode. And I will be starting again in January with a new season. I've got some amazing people lined up to talk to, business people, all sorts of other intuitives, people that are using intuition in unique ways. And I'm really excited. My husband's going to come on the pod, so get ready for that. We're going to talk about relationships, and if you don't always see eye to eye around religion and spirituality with your partner, like, how do you make that work? So we're going to talk about that. I have been on now 3 months into my journey with my GLP-1 weight loss shots. I'm going to talk about that in the new year, and about the spiritual awakenings that have come through being on that prescription and being on that medicine, and what's that doing for me and my soul. So I got a lot of cool things around the corner that are coming up that are there to help us on our journey. So if this podcast has meant something to you, I will say this: I'm a small business. I'm building a brand. I'm building a collective group of people that want to vibe in this way. And if you haven't given this podcast a rate it. For real. If you love it and you tune in and you're one of my, hundreds of peeps that tune in every single week, give it a little review. Let the world know what it means to you. And share it. Share it with people, especially episodes that mean something to you or really spoke to your heart. Share it with people that you care about for real. There's nothing more powerful you can do for a small business than to share that that they're there, and that they're putting their mark on the world. And that doesn't mean, that can mean, a jewelry shop or a candle making store or a stationery store, whatever it is. It can be any kind of business, or it can be a business like mine where I do online courses and readings and things like that. But I really do believe in the power of collectively changing the vibration of the planet, and that we can do that when we lean into love and seek to understand and let go of judgment. And I think you can do that wearing a religious hat, and some people can't. But if you can, I encourage you to do that, to release judgment, to see things through the lens of love, and to open yourself up in that way. So I just wanted to thank you. I wanted to thank you for being here and being on this journey with me, and being through season 2 already. And we're going to start season 3 in January. It's such an honor to do this. And I love it. I really, really love it. So if you have guests that you're like, Kara, you have to interview this person. And I'll tell you, I've got dreams. I got big, big dreams for who's going to come on my podcast. And I have them on my manifesting board. I feel like I should say them now so that sometime in like season 5, when they come on, I'll be like, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I'll have some like record print of my Google Doc saying like, I wrote Matthew McConaughey's name down in 2024 and he came on. But he will someday. He will, because he's going to talk to me about his intuition and how he gets signs in lights, red, yellow, and green lights, as do I. So it's going to be a topic we talk about. But anyhow, maybe you know Matthew McConaughey, maybe you don't. If you do, tell him, call me, call Kara. I would like to interview him on the podcast. But if you have people that you think would be amazing for me to interview, send me an email or message me on Instagram, Facebook too. I'm just on Instagram more often, but send me a message. Let me know. I'd love to know who you think we should interview and talk to. And I hope that you all have a fabulous holiday season, whether you celebrate Christmas or any other holiday at this time, or you're just going to ring in the new year with a new you and a fresh new perspective into 2025. I just want you to know that I love you. I am so grateful for you. And I love, love, love interviewing people and sharing wisdom in this longer format process with the Energetics podcast. And I couldn't do it if all of you didn't tune in and listen. So thank you so much. And I will talk to you on the new year.